15th November 2025, and now we are solving past paper questions from IGCSE Physics, and these questions, the first question from October November 2018, and all these questions about turning effect of force. So let's start. Consider this is a uniform plank. Sir, what is the meaning of uniform plank? Uniform plank means any object in which mass is distributed uniformly and the weight of object is acting from its geometrical center, from the midpoint, then such a body is called uniform. Uniform body means the weight of the object is acting from the midpoint of the object. So the object is uniform. Okay. The weight of the uniform plank is 210 Newton, and this plank is suspended by two ropes. This is rope P and this is rope Q. And if it is suspended by, consider this is the roof, and with the roof these two ropes are connected, and tension will be produced in the string. Tension force will be produced in the ropes. The first part of the question, state in terms of P. Remember, P is a force. P is a force. Question, what is moment of force P about B? About B means you have to consider B as a pivot. You have to consider B as a pivot. And now they are asking, what is turning effect of force P? Sir, this force P, this is force P, and how far this force P from the pivot? Beta Sonia, can you tell me? This is force, this is pivot. And what is the distance between force and pivot, beta? Sonia, beta, what is the distance? Yes, the distance is 1.5. The distance is 1.5 and force is P. So the turning effect will be P multiply 1.5. P, we do not know its value, so we have to write only in terms of P into 1.5. And this force actually producing anti-clockwise movement around the pivot. This is a pivot, and this force is producing clockwise movement around the pivot. Okay, and now they are asking, calculate moment of W. Movement of W. Okay, now we are calculating movement of W. This is a W, and this is also producing anti-clockwise movement around the pivot. And what is the formula to calculate turning effect of weight W? So the answer is, sir, weight is 210. Weight is 210. This is a force. And now I think this is a difficult question. What is this distance? बेटा मानूर, क्या आप हमें बता सकती हैं what is the length of this red arrow? What is the length of this arrow? Whereas the total length is 2 meter. जी बेटा, can you tell me? Yes, then the answer is, what is the answer beta? Answer will be 1.0 meter. Answer will be 1.0 meter. So the total length of the plank is 2 meter. Total length is 2 meter and its half value is 1 meter. It is easier, as you told me, sir, 1.5 minus 0.5, it is also correct, but the total length is 2 meter and its half value is 1 meter. Okay beta, so you are right. So the turning effect due to W is 210 multiply 1, so the answer is 210, and the unit of movement is Newton into meter. And now the next part, calculate force P. You have to calculate force P. So beta, you can see there are two turning effects in this diagram. There are two turning effects in this diagram. Number one, sir, this is anti-clockwise. No, no, sorry. this is clockwise and this is anti-clockwise. ठीक, स्टूडेंट्स को ये एरो बनाना मुश्किल लगते हैं, मैं भी एक्सप्लेन करता हूँ उसको किस तरह से बनाते हैं। हमेशा ऐसा सर्कल बनाते हैं इन विच पिवट शुड बी एट द सेंटर ऑफ सर्कल। यू कैन सी दिस इज द सर्कल and in this circle pivot lie at its center. In the same way, this is another circle in which pivot should be at its center. So there are two turning effects. There are two turning effects. One of them is clockwise, the other one is anti-clockwise. So you should write in this way. Beta, you should write. So clockwise movement is equal to anti-clockwise movement. Clockwise movement is equal to anti-clockwise movement. So clockwise movement is this. This is P into 1.5. This is P into 1.5. And what about anti-clockwise? Sir, anti-clockwise is 210. Anti-clockwise is 210. But Rafe, can you answer me? If we are calculating P, P will be 210 divided by 1.5. This 1.5 will be divided. But Rafe, what is the answer? 210 divided by 1.5? 140. So 140 Newton force in this rope P. In this rope P, 140 Newton force acting in upward direction. The weight of the plank is 210. 140 Newton force acting in the rope P. 140 Newton force acting in the rope P. And now they are asking, what is force Q? Sir, force Q we can calculate by using first condition of equilibrium. So what is the first condition of equilibrium? The first condition of equilibrium is upward forces equal to downward forces. Upward force is P plus Q. So downward force is 210. This is the only force which is acting downward. This force acting upward, this force acting upward. So 140 plus Q acting upward, 210 acting downward. And if you have to calculate Q, then Q will be 210 minus 140. So the answer will be 70 Newton. So the answer will be 70 Newton. So these kind of question they ask repeatedly. So I should not revise this question, and if we solve the next question, then the next question will also be like same question. But I am solving first this question. I am solving this question first. We will solve all question in this class. Okay. But first we are solving easier question. So in this question, the first part of the body, sorry, the first part of this question is a stationary object is acted upon by number of forces. Okay. State the condition which must be true if the object does not accelerate. You know, acceleration is produced by force. Acceleration produced by force. Sir, if net force is zero, then there will be no acceleration. If net force is zero, there is no acceleration. And in the same way, if net movement is zero, clockwise movement equal to anti-clockwise movement. In this way, if net movement is zero, sir, if net movement is zero, then the object does not rotate because clockwise movement equal to anti-clockwise movement. So the object will be in equilibrium and it will not rotate. So this question is completed and now we are solving B part of the question. In this B part of the question, sir, this is a boat. This is a boat and this boat cannot be uniform because this side is not uniform as compared to right hand side. So this boat now again suspended by two ropes, and obviously there will be roof on which the boat is suspended. The question is the weight of the boat is 24 kilonewton. Okay, the tension in the ropes are T1, T2. The first part of the question, determine the moment of weight. About P. If you are given about means this point is pivot. About means this point is pivot. P is the pivot. P is the pivot, and they are asking what is the moment of weight. Sir, you know weight, sorry, moment is force. Sir, force is 24,000 Newton force. This is force. And how far this force from the pivot? Sir, this force is 0.4 meter from the pivot. Sir, this force 24,000 Newton is 0.4 meter from the pivot. Okay. And now if you multiply these two numbers, then obviously you can calculate turning effect. So in calculator I am writing 24,000, then multiplied with 0.4, then the answer is 9,600 Newton into meter. So this is the turning effect of 24,000 Newton force. And now they are asking the next part, calculate tension T1. For calculate to calculate tension T1, you can see this is anti-clockwise movement and this is clockwise movement. And both circles are drawn in such a way this pivot should be inside the circle. This pivot should be inside the circle. And both arrows must be opposite in direction. Always these arrows must be opposite in direction because one of them is clockwise, the other one will be anti-clockwise. So if I am solving T1, then I am writing clockwise movement equals to anti-clockwise movement. Sir, clockwise movement is produced by tension number 1, and I am asking बेटा मैं नाम भूल गया नाम भूल गया बेटा जो नई स्टूडेंट है आपका क्या नाम है सोने हाँ हाँ बेटा if I ask you what is the distance of T1 from the pivot 1.20 you are wrong ठीक है ना सोच लीजिए जी तो it makes 1.6 it makes 1.6 okay बेटा and for anti-clockwise movement sir anti-clockwise movement you have already calculated and anti-clockwise movement due to the weight of the boat and this is 24,000 Newton. This is 24,000 Newton. So anti-clockwise movement we have already calculated 24,000. Clockwise movement is T1 into 1.6 and if we are calculating T1 then T1 is equals to 24,000 divided by 1.6. What is the answer beta? Huh? 15,000. So 15,000 Newton force or 15 kilonewton force as tension number 1. Tension number 1 is 15 kilonewton. Sir, why are you writing in kilonewton? Yeah, we are given weight in kilonewton. So I think forces should also be expressed, tension should also be expressed as in kilonewton. And now the final question, what is tension number 2? Yes, we can calculate tension number 2 by first condition of equilibrium. Upward forces equal to downward forces. Sir, upward forces are T1 plus T2 and downward force is only weight. T1 upward, T2 upward, downward only 24 kilonewton. That is the weight of the boat. And if you are calculating T2, then T2 is equal to 24 minus 15 and 24 minus 15. The answer is 9 kilonewton. The answer is 9 kilonewton. Now, beta, we have solved two questions of the same type. Same type in both questions. An object is suspended by two ropes, and in both questions they ask calculate tension in the two ropes, and we have calculated tensions in the two ropes. But Mahanur, is it clear? The Mahanur, is it clear? Okay. And now we are solving another question. That in this question, this is a wheel. This is a wheel in your car, and this wheel is pivoted in on the axle with the help of nuts. These are nuts, and these nuts are very tight. It is very difficult to tight or loose these nuts by finger and thumb. So we use a spanner, we use wrench to open or close any nut. Okay. In this question, this is a spanner, and in this spanner, this is the pivot, and two forces are acting on this spanner. Force uh, mechanic B is 400 Newton, force of mechanic A is 500 Newton, and in this question, these forces or these turning effects are not equal. They are not equal. In this question, they are asking what is the magnitude of resultant movement? What is the magnitude of resultant movement? Because one of them is clockwise, the other one is anti-clockwise. They are in opposite direction, and if they are in opposite direction and they are not equal because these forces are different although their distances are equal, so it means, sir, these movements are not equal, and I think anti-clockwise movement is larger than clockwise movement. Anti-clockwise movement is produced by, sir, 500 Newton force, and this force is 1.2 meter away from the pivot. So anti-clockwise movement is stronger, whereas clockwise movement, sir, clockwise movement is produced by force for 400 Newton, and this force is 1.2 meter away from the pivot. So if you solve these numbers, then you can easily calculate the magnitude of resultant movement. Jupiter Rafe, can you answer? 100, 130 beta, 120. So the net or resultant movement is 120. If you solve these number by using calculator, then their answer will be 120 Newton meter, and they are asking what is the direction of resultant. So check which movement is greater. Sir, anti-clockwise movement is greater. Anti-clockwise movement, this movement is stronger. This movement is greater. It is anti-clockwise, so the direction of the resultant movement will also be anti-clockwise. This anti-clockwise turning effect is greater, so the resultant movement will be anti-clockwise. So this is also a very simple question. And now another question, mechanic B reverses the direction of force. Mechanic B reverses the direction of force. It means the mechanic B force now is acting upward. Mechanic B has reversed the direction of force. Sir, if the direction of force is reversed, then it is also anti-clockwise. This is anti-clockwise. This is already anti-clockwise, and now it is also anti-clockwise. And if the both are anti-clockwise, so they will be added. So same turning effect, 500 multiply 1.2, 400 multiply 1.2, but now they are acting in the same direction. If they are acting in the same direction, they are simply added. And if you add them, Rafe beta, what is the answer? हाँ बेटा, 1080. This is the magnitude of resultant moment. Okay, and remember, right now the force from A acting downward and the force from B acting upward, it was producing clockwise, sorry, anti-clockwise. It was also anti-clockwise. So their total is calculated by adding turning effect. It is anti-clockwise, it is anti-clockwise, so they are acted. So they are added. When turning effects are anti-clockwise, they are added. But for the last part, you can see, so this force acting downward, this force acting upward, and they are asking what is resultant force. So resultant force, this is downward, this is upward, so they are subtracted. So the resultant force is 100 Newton. So I think it may confuse you, because when the force from mechanic B acting downward, the force of mechanic A acting upward, when we are calculating turning effect, they are added. Why? Because this is anti-clockwise, this is anti-clockwise, so they are added. But when we are calculating resultant force, we are not adding them, we are subtracting them. Why? Because this force acting downward, this force acting upward, so forces are in opposite direction, but turning effect are in same direction. When turning effect are in same direction, then they are added, and forces are in opposite direction, so resultant force is calculated by subtracting the forces. जी बेटा स्वालिहा, क्या आपको ये मुश्किल बात समझ में आई कि टर्निंग इफेक्ट कैलकुलेट किया है तो प्लस करा रहा हूँ और रिजल्टेंट फोर्स कैलकुलेट कराने में माइनस कर रहा हूँ, क्योंकि फोर्स के लिए अपवर्ड और डाउनवर्ड देखते हैं और टर्निंग इफेक्ट के लिए हम चेक करते हैं कि विच वन इज क्लॉकवाइज एंड विच वन इज एंटी क्लॉकवाइज. इफ बोथ आर एंटी क्लॉकवाइज सो दे आर एडेड. ठीक है बेटा, क्लियर है? अच्छा जी, एक और क्वेश्चन देखिएगा, खत्म हो रहा है जी ये तो. अच्छा जी, इसमें क्या हो रहा है जरा देखिए सर, इसमें हो ये रहा है, a meter rule balances when the 50 centimeter mark is directly above the pivot. ठीक है जी, a meter rule balances when the 50 centimeter mark is directly above a pivot. State what in the rule its center of mass is located. अच्छा जी, the question is where is the center of mass. Sir, what is the meaning of center of mass? Center of mass in a body is the point at which its weight act, its mass act, and if the object is balanced at that point, remember, any object when balanced at any point, then at this point there will be center of mass. So center of mass is at 50 centimeter mark. एक और बात मैं यूं समझाना चाहूंगा, जरा रुकिएगा. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, you have a pen in your hand. Right now, obviously, you have a pen in your hand. If I ask you, where is the center of mass of your pen, तो आप क्या कीजिए, इस पेन को ना बेटा अपनी फिंगर पर बैलेंस करने की कोशिश कीजिए. कंसीडर दिस इज अ फिंगर, फिंगर टिप पर इसको बैलेंस करने की कोशिश कीजिए. ठीक, द पॉइंट एट विच द पेन इज बैलेंस्ड, this point will be द सेंटर ऑफ मास। तो कोई भी ऑब्जेक्ट आपको मैं दूं और इफ आई आस्क यू वेयर इज द सेंटर ऑफ मास, तो आप क्या करो, उसको फिंगर टिप पर बैलेंस करने की कोशिश करो। फिंगर टिप पर जहां वो बैलेंस हो जाएगा वही जगह उसकी क्या बन जाएगी, सेंटर ऑफ मास। तो इस क्वेश्चन में यू आर गिवन द मीटर रूल इज बैलेंस एट 50 सेंटीमीटर मार्क एंड नाउ दे आर आस्किंग वेयर इज द सेंटर ऑफ मास लोकेटेड। तो सेंटर ऑफ मास वही होता है जहां पे ऑब्जेक्ट बैलेंस हुआ हुआ होता है। तो ऑब्जेक्ट इज बैलेंस्ड एट 50 सेंटीमीटर मार्क, so its center of mass is also at 50 centimeter. And now we have a question. क्वेश्चन क्या है सर? क्वेश्चन ये है the center of the mass of apple is at 27 centimeter from the pivot and the center of the mass of the weight is 45 centimeter from the pivot. The question is what, sorry, calculate the weight of the apple. Calculate the weight of the apple. The center of mass of the apple is 25 centimeter and center of the mass of the weight means this is the weight. This weight is placed on the ruler and it is 45 centimeter from the pivot and they are asking what is the weight of the pivot, weight of the apple. Now we are solving. Sir, this weight is producing clockwise movement around the pivot. You are given this is a pivot. So clockwise movement by weight and anti-clockwise movement by apple. So I am writing anti-clockwise movement equal to clockwise movement. Sir, anti-clockwise movement produced by weight of apple and this weight of apple is 25 centimeter away from the pivot. On the right hand side, sir, this is a weight and this weight is 0.4 Newton and this is 45 centimeter. This is 45 centimeter from the pivot. And if you have to calculate weight, then weight is equal to 0.4 into 45 divided by 25. जी बेटा राफे, what is the answer? हाँ बेटा 0.72. अच्छा बेटा सोलिया, मैं आपसे एक क्वेश्चन करना चाहता हूँ कि इन फिजिक्स यूजुअली वी कन्वर्ट सेंटीमीटर इनटू मीटर, बट इन दिस क्वेश्चन I am not converting centimeter into meter. Why I am not converting and why it is not necessary to convert? सोलिया बेटा, सो ओके, नहीं नहीं, क्वेश्चन के बजाय ना, देखिए लेफ्ट हैंड पे भी सेंटीमीटर राइट हैंड पे भी सेंटीमीटर है, तो देयर यूनिट कैंसिल आउट ईच अदर, सही है। एंड इफ यू कन्वर्ट इनटू मीटर बाय डिवाइडिंग 100, तो लेफ्ट साइड को भी 100 से डिवाइड करोगे, राइट साइड को भी 100 से डिवाइड करोगे, तो ऑब्वियसली दे कैंसिल आउट ईच अदर। तो इफ सेंटीमीटर ऑन लेफ्ट हैंड एंड राइट हैंड साइड दे कैंसिल आउट ईच अदर, सो सेंटीमीटर कैंसिल एंड द रिमेनिंग आंसर इज इन न्यूटन। अच्छा जी, now as we have calculated the weight of the apple, now they are asking what is the mass of the apple. Sir, how do we calculate mass? You know, sir, W is equal to mg, weight is 0.72, mass we have to calculate, and g nowadays you should use 9.8. You should use 9.8. पहले 10 से काम चला लेते थे, but now they have instructed you should write 9.8 और 9.8 से बड़ा डिवाइड कर के आपके आंसर कीजिए 0.07 and the mass is in kilogram. The mass is in kilogram. And now the apple is not moved, the weight is removed from the rule and the pivot is moved to the left until the rule balances. ठीक है? Explain why the arrangement balances. The right hand side weight we have removed. Right hand side weight is removed. If no weight on the right hand side, then Solia, the apple weight is producing anti-clockwise movement. This load is removed, then how is it possible this arrangement is balancing? What is that क्लॉकवाइज मूवमेंट विच इज नॉट अपियरिंग ऑन द स्क्रीन. क्लॉकवाइज मूवमेंट है लेकिन बेटा स्क्रीन पे नजर नहीं आ रहा. कैन यू टेल मी वेयर इज द क्लॉकवाइज मूवमेंट? क्लॉकवाइज मूवमेंट बेटा सोनिया आपको नजर आ रहा है इसमें? वेट हटा दिया. जब वेट हटा दिया तो अब क्लॉकवाइज मूवमेंट कहाँ से आएगा? विच इज बैलेंसिंग द वेट ऑफ द एप्पल. राफे बेटा आप बताइए. हम्म. मतलब ये तो लोड हटा दिया ना यार. आपको यूं कहना चाहिए कि सर ये जो रूलर है ना, रूलर पहले 50 सेंटीमीटर पे बैलेंस था. ठीक है. तो वेट ऑफ द रूलर was passing through pivot, so it was not producing turning effect. Any force which pass through pivot, it cannot produce turning effect. So the weight of the ruler was not producing turning effect. But when you have shifted the position of pivot, now the weight of the ruler is producing clockwise movement. बेटा सालिहा बात समझ में आई आपको कि पहले पिवट 50 सेंटीमीटर पे मार्क पे था, तो रूलर का वेट was not able to produce turning effect. The force which passes through pivot, it cannot produce turning effect. So the weight of the ruler was not producing turning effect. But right now, the weight of the ruler is not passing through pivot, so it can produce clockwise movement. And this clockwise movement is balancing the anti-clockwise movement. So I am writing the answer. The weight of ruler producing clockwise movement. It is balancing movement of apple, movement of weight of apple. ठीक है बेटा. When ruler was pivoted at 50 centimeter mark, the weight of the ruler was inactive. It could not produce turning effect. But right now, pivot is not at centimeter. Sorry, pivot is not at 50 centimeter. So the weight of the ruler producing clockwise movement at this moment is balancing the movement of weight of the apple. So the ruler is balanced. जी बेटा स्वालिहा हमें बताइए कि पिवट बदलने से क्या हो गया. पहले पिवट यहाँ था, अब पिवट पहले सॉरी पिवट यहाँ था, अब पिवट यहाँ आ गया. अगर आपने पिवट बदल दिया और वेट हटा दिया तो क्या हुआ इस पार्ट में बेटा, कुछ हमें बताइए. जी, द वेट ऑफ द रूलर is producing clockwise movement and this movement is balancing the movement of weight of the apple. Okay, and now the pivot in figure 3.2 is closer to the 50 centimeter mark than to the center of mass of the apple. Compare the weight of the ruler to the weight of the apple. अच्छा जी, remember if the ruler is balanced and this distance is smaller, this distance is smaller and this distance is longer, then obviously the weight of the ruler is greater because clockwise movement is equal to anti-clockwise movement. If their distances are different, I should write in this way, sir, weight of apple is equal to weight of ruler. And now I am writing their distances. You can see this distance is smaller. Consider this distance is 5 centimeter. this distance is longer, consider this distance is 10 centimeter, then obviously if the distance is smaller, then weight will be heavier. If the distance is larger, then this weight will be lighter. So I can compare the weight of ruler is greater than that of apple. Okay, so if the are different, then obviously forces are different. Small distance, greater weight. Greater distance, smaller weight. So the weight of apple must be less than the weight of the ruler. So this is the last question. No, no, sir, we have more questions. We have more questions. Okay, we have more questions. So we are solving more questions. This is the next question. It is October, November 2019. The question is, state two conditions which must be true for an object to be in equilibrium. Sir, there are two conditions of equilibrium. Number one, net force must be zero. Number two, net movement must be zero. These are two conditions of equilibrium. And now a question is here. This is a pivot. This is a pivot. And again, this is a uniform meter rule. And it is given the meter rule is balanced. Okay, meter rule is in equilibrium. The distance PQ is 100 centimeter. P to Q, it is 100 centimeter. The mass of ruler is 0.12 kg, and now you have to draw arrows. You have to draw arrows to show the weight of the ruler. Okay, so total length of the ruler is 100 centimeter. This is a uniform ruler. If the ruler is uniform, then weight always act at the center, from the center. So the weight of the ruler from the center of the ruler. So this is the arrow which showing the weight of the ruler, number one. Number two, they are asking arrow to show the force R. R. Sir, what is R? R is the reaction force. R is the reaction force that is acting on PQ at the pivot. Yes. Sir, this pivot provides reaction force and reaction force acting upward. Actually, reaction force is a contact force. Reaction force is a contact force. When ruler makes contact with the pivot, then pivot provides reaction force. So whenever any object make contact with anybody, then this contact reaction force is produced, and in this example the reaction force R is acting in upward direction. Okay, and now we are solving question. The first part of the question, taking moment about pivot, calculate F, means we have to calculate this F. We have to calculate this F. Okay, and now I am explaining you. So this is pivot. So I believe this is clockwise movement. About pivot, weight producing clockwise movement. Whereas this force, sir, this force is producing anti-clockwise movement. And as I told you, this circle should be drawn in this way. Pivot must be at its center. Pivot must be at its center. You can see this is inside the circle. This is inside the circle. You should draw circle in such a way pivot should be inside the circle. Pivot should be inside the circle. And now for this force. Now for this force, sir, for this force, this is like this, and you can see if you complete this circle, then again pivot is inside the circle. So I have drawn three arrows. I have drawn three arrows which are showing, sir, it is anti-clockwise movement, it is anti-clockwise movement, and this is clockwise movement. So three movements are acting in this diagram. So I'm writing clockwise movement equal to anti-clockwise movement. So what is clockwise movement? Clockwise movement is weight. So weight is producing clockwise movement, and this weight is 40 centimeter from the pivot. Weight is 40 centimeter from the pivot is equal to anti-clockwise movement. Sir, anti-clockwise movement is this. Yes, this is anti-clockwise. Its value is 0.5. Its value is 0.5. And how far this 0.5 Newton force from pivot? Mahanur, can you tell me how far this force from the pivot? This force from the pivot, how far? Yes, it is 10 centimeter. 10 centimeter. Plus, Manur, this force F, how far this force F from the pivot? What is this distance? What is this distance? This force is how far from the pivot? Total length is 100 centimeter. हाँ हाँ बोले बोले 100 minus 10. Total is 100 minus 10. It is 90. 100 minus 10, it is 90. And now this equation is formed. And now we are solving this equation. And the weight of the ruler, I think it is given. Yes, sir, weight of the ruler is given. It is 0.12 kg. 0.12 kg. So this 0.12 kg should be converted into weight by mg. mg, mass into 9.8. It will give you weight. So weight of the rule is 0.12 into 9.8. And now if you solve this equation, then beta Rafe, what is F? What is F? हाँ बताएं बताएं. 402. 402. 0.9 है तो 403 कर लें, और राउंड ऑफ करके मैं तो कह रहा हूँ 400 कर लें. अभी मार्किंग इसकी में देख लेते हैं. हाँ बेटा सवाल है, आपका भी यही आंसर आ रहा है क्या? बेटा सवाल है, आपका भी यही आंसर आ रहा है? ठीक है बेटा. So by taking clockwise movement equal to anti-clockwise movement, we have calculated the force F, and now in the last part, हाँ दोबारा बोले. नहीं नहीं कभी भी नहीं हो सकता. मैं सॉल्व कर दूं कैलकुलेटर में सामने. सही आंसर है, ठीक है. अच्छा जी, और आगे चलिए. नाउ दे आर आस्किंग कैलकुलेट आर. Calculate R. Sir, to calculate R, I should erase extra arrows. And this force we have calculated 400. And now they are asking calculate R. So this R can be calculated by using first condition of equilibrium, and first condition is upward forces equal to downward forces. Sir, upward force is R and 400. R and 400. And downward force is 0.5 plus weight. 0.5 plus weight. ठीक है ना? तो weight we have already calculated 0.19, sorry 0.12 into 9.8 कर ले. ठीक है जनाब? तो अब आप मुझे बता सकते हैं क्या आंसर बन जाएगा? 0.5. लेकिन यार चक्कर ये है, एक मिनट रुकना राफे. यार जब ये इतनी स्मॉल फोर्स है तो ये वाली फोर्स इतनी खतरनाक किस्म की नहीं हो सकती मेरे ख्याल में. ये नंबर में तो बहुत, हाँ बहुत डिफरेंस आ रहा है, बहुत बड़ा. क्वेश्चन नंबर 87 नीचे मार्किंग इसकी में जाके देखो यार. ये रहा 87. हाँ ना, फोर्स ये रही यार, फोर्स 430 है, 43 है. 403 नहीं है, 43 है. कोई तुमने कैलकुलेटर चलाने में ना कोई बटन तुमने बड़ा गलत दब गया है. फोर्स है जीरो, सॉरी सिर्फ 43. ठीक है. अब बेटा करेक्ट कर लीजिए इस चीज को. आंसर जो है बेटा सिर्फ, कोई बात, कोई बात नहीं, कोई बात नहीं बेटा, हम आपको कुछ नहीं बोल रहे हैं. गलती हो सकती है. तो फोर्स बेटा आ रही है 43. ठीक है बेटा, फोर्स आ गई 43. और अब ये फोर्स 43 आ गई, तो इस 43 से बेटा आप सवाल को सॉल्व कर लीजिएगा. ये 43 प्लस है, वहां जाके 43 माइनस हो जाएगा. सॉल्व करेंगे तो आर आ जाएगा. ठीक है बेटा, रिकॉर्डिंग यहाँ बंद कर रहा हूँ.